My name is Ryan Cathcart, and I'm a current Tridas customer, and I'm more than happy.
Sweet. What was, I guess, before your journey with Tridas, what were the things you were running into as a company? What were you struggling with the most?
So I started feeling the pressure of having to have a really high close rate. Those referrals that I was getting were all pretty much word of mouth. And so I was selling a lot, closing a lot of deals on a percentage basis, but I wasn't meeting new people, new clients that potentially don't know me in the way that we are now. So, and I ran some numbers and I was looking at it. I think organically, just word of mouth, I was getting about 2 to 4 leads a week. And right now, I'm actually booking days where I have 10 appointments with clients that didn't know me before our ad was placed in front of them.
That's crazy. So you went from, do you say 2 to 4 a week to then booking days with 10 people that you're having
Yeah,
conversations with? That's
correct.
insane.
And I think, and I was looking back at it too, I think I'm averaging in between 25 to 35 appointments per month that
Hmm.
are coming from Facebook and the efforts that you and your team have made and to advertise for my company.
And so how many appointments were you doing a month previously? Like was that 2 to 4? So like
You're talking 10,
six,
10 to 15, 16 tops. But
okay.
again, the close rate was higher because they were all word of mouth referrals. It's like, hey, I painted for your niece or your nephew or your aunt or uncle. And
Hmm.
so, I had a better opportunity, better chance to close those with already getting a referral from, family or friends or neighbors. So for me, what that taught me was, hey, this is good, but I really needed to get to this next level where I'm starting to think a little more futuristic. And I certainly wouldn't be where we are today without, trusting you and your company and the systems that you guys have put in place.
For sure. I appreciate that. How long have you guys been in business?
We're going on our 10th year. I've actually been painting for almost 20 years, but
Okay.
going on our 10th year as Cathcart and Company, and it's been a journey. It's been a learning curve, and my goals have changed. Essentially, I started out like, hey, as long as the bills are paid, and I'm bringing home like $1,000 a week, and I'm painting every day, and I'm meeting people, and I got a couple of buddies that were helping me to, now the goal is to continue providing extremely high quality painting services, but also enjoy life a little bit more and be a little more financially responsible.
For sure. What I guess running the business for 10 years, it's not a short amount of time. Obviously, you guys did a great job, like you said, kind of word of mouth referrals, that like typical relationship building. It sounds like that's what kind of fueled your company over the past 10 years or so. What was like the line in the sand that made you decide, after 10 years, hey, I want to do something different, or I want to try something different, or enough is enough.
So we barely made it through COVID. So that we started feeling pressure then because the first thing that residential clients were canceling was any, construction or painting services, remodeling. That was the first, like, no, we're not doing it because everybody was scared to spend money. So sales
Mhm.
went drastically down for COVID. And then I also started experiencing, just realizing without even keeping score, I just had a feeling like, hey, the phone's not really ringing as much as it used to. Part of that is because we have a very healthy competition base here locally. And, there's some other reasons that go into that. But ultimately, I think for me, it was like, hey, I really need to get to the next level. And then when I spoke with you during our first video chat in our Zoom, and you explained to me what your company does and you acquired about us and what we did, there was still some hesitation there. It was like everything that you said, I believed it. But after we went live and I took that step and made this what I consider to be a small initial investment, I had my first lead in the first day that we went live. And I had an appointment booked for the following day with that lead. And it was an out of town lead, someone that I've never heard of. They've never heard of me and my company. And so that was kind of the proof in the pudding for me, was like, hey, this is going to work. And then I didn't know how good it was going to get after that. And I'm definitely more than happy with where we are.
That's awesome, man. I think for a lot of people it is that very similar case of like you don't really know what the other side looks like until you really jump in. Like you can do as much research as you can, you can see what other people do, you can watch YouTube videos, but really the only true experience is you experiencing it for yourself. So what were you guys at? So you grew for 10 years, and obviously COVID kind of hit a lot of people. Then there was like uncertainty and like, okay, how do we make sure to stay busy and not just rely on people organically reaching out to us? What were you guys doing sort of like in general monthly revenue before you jumped on with Tridas?
I think we were somewhere around 20K-ish in sales
Mhm.
on a monthly basis. And I was just reviewing, doing my homework here because I knew that we had our meeting today. I think that we're around 60K a month in sales. So if that translates properly, I think you've increased our revenue by 200% or sales
Mhm.
by 200%, going from 20 to 60. And that allows me to say that, again, that what I consider to be a small investment is certainly paid for over and over again, just on $40,000 worth of sales extra per month. Now, there is the management side that makes it a little bit more difficult. So I would strongly approach your potential clients that you want to add to, to this system, just to be ready and as ready as they can be, because time allocation is definitely something that's a lot different for me right
Mhm.
now, with going with having 2 to 4 appointments a week to 10 a day sometimes, and having software that helps me allocate that time and it's right in front of me versus handwriting notes and then losing those and things like that. So the drip jobs and the drip chat that come along with this, that go hand in hand, um, and they keep score. I wasn't keeping score before. It was just like, hey, the lights are on, the fridge is full, we can have a cookout next month and plan like one vacation a year. I was happy. I
Mhm.
was content with that. And then, like I said, my goals kind of changed, and I knew that I was going to need someone with a little more expertise to help me get to the level that I know that we can be on.
That's huge, man. So I mean, just to loop back to what you mentioned there. So you were at 20K a month. You guys are now at around 60. So like you said, almost tripled the business, added 40K a month in additional sales. I just checked your guys' ads, and in the past 30 days, you've spent around 2.2K. So you spent around 2.2K on the ads for an additional 40K in sales, which is awesome. I'm not sure what that is from a cost of marketing standpoint. That's like a 5% cost of marketing to almost like triple the business. And you said you got onto drip jobs, which is huge. Because I remember when we initially spoke, you didn't, like you said, didn't have any systems. And now we've got these systems in place to help you manage your time, to keep score, look at the metrics, keep track on everybody as well. And Maddie mentioned something interesting to me earlier. She said that you haven't even been like doing a ton of calls to the leads.
Right.
You've just been letting
She
drip
was
jobs run in the background and booking estimates for you.
the conversation that I had with her. She was shocked because I called essentially and I was like, hey, a lot of these clients or potential leads, they're not providing their specific address or their specific phone number, or they're missing a zip code. And so that's not allowing me to just go in and click and schedule an appointment. And
Mm,
so we had a conversation about making some changes to that. But she was like, so you're not calling them? When I was like, no, I haven't made one phone call. She was like, you're kidding me. And so I was like, no, they just sit, and the drip does its thing 2 days later. And then, a lot of them will either communicate more or give me the information that we need. But yeah, it's kind of self-sufficient in a way. I think it could run itself. It doesn't matter who's sitting on the other side. If you just have a little bit of discipline, you can be successful.
mm,
And again, we talked originally and I was like, hey, I want to throw you like $1,000. And you're like, well, this is what it costs. And this is a good deal. And you explain the value. And I said, fine, let's try it. Let's give it this trial run. And it was a huge decision to make and very impactful.
Yeah, that's crazy to see that you've been booking an additional 40K in work off of like 2K in spend, and you haven't been calling the leads. It's like amazing and almost hilarious at the same time, because if like for anyone watching this, we definitely don't recommend not calling your leads. Like drip jobs is great, and like it's booking estimates on autopilot for you, which is the point of it. But
Mhm.
if you were to go and like run a typical process of calling everyone that comes through straight away, hitting people a couple of times a day until you reach out to them, like I'm almost confident you could add another 50% or 100% onto what you're already doing. Because you're
Yeah.
you're taking all the people that are like the warmest, lowest hanging fruit and turning them into estimates and closes. But what about the other, 50% of people that maybe they just need that additional phone call right away to say, hey, this is Ryan with Cathcart and Company, just saw you filled out information. and have that human to human phone call touch point, there's so much opportunity in that bucket that we haven't tapped into. So I'm excited for you to potentially start tapping into that and see how we can take that 60, 80, 90 and beyond. What's you mentioned like one of the biggest things, people kind of need to be ready. If you're going to start increasing your sales, well, you need to be able to manage that. What things have kind of changed for you on a day to day in the business? Have you started to hire anyone else? Have you brought in different crews? What has kind of changed in the business?
We've definitely added to manpower and the skilled laborers. There was a need for that, and I knew that preemptively going into it. I'm like, hey, we're going to get these. So I had some contacts, and we had a couple of discussions about, hey, this is getting ready to take place. Let's be ready. But in the past 3.5 months, what I have realized is I'm going to need help on the sales side. And so I am actively seeking and looking for a candidate that would fit my company, fit the build that I think is best for us and represent me. And it's coming, I would say, within the next 2 months. If I don't have at least one more person running estimates, an estimator, or someone else has access to the drifts and can help out, that I'm just going to be too busy. And so I'm just planning, for that to happen and take place, and we'll see.
Okay, that's cool. So we've got enough volume now that we can even warrant bringing on another person to do the estimates. What's the long-term goals for the company now? You said originally it was, hey, be comfortable, make enough to have a cookout every now and again. Like now that we've had some growth, and I guess you see the opportunity of like, you can kind of break the glass ceiling and push further. Do you have like a specific number you're aiming for the company, or like amount of team, or like any internal goals you're aiming for?
So we were doing, I think we started at a couple 100,000 a year in revenue. And before we increased to in between 3 and 4. And so with the numbers that we have, essentially, I want to take this company to $1 million in sales a year as just an initial goal.
That's cool. And what's going to change for you at that point? Is that just going to be like, hey, cool, we've like got to 1 million. What's next? Are you going to like hire a project manager and try and remove yourself a little bit? What do you kind of foresee
Yeah,
happening?
I would love to scale back at some point. We work and work and work, and we don't get any playtime. And so I'm not like, I need work as part of a routine. I'm not looking to just retire, but I want to build this company up and leave it to my kids and let them decide, are they going to sell it, or are they going to run it, and have that option. Whereas before, like, hey, the bills are paid. So the futuristic goals are, being goal driven and having measurable goals and software that accounts for it in a way that I wasn't before is definitely helping me.
I love that. So you're trying to build a legacy then, something to pass down and give people an option to tap into. What's So I know a lot of what we do is like the video content, right? Like selfie videos, pushing that out. Have you had any feedback from your videos? Have you had anyone mention them or talk about them or see them at all?
Yeah. I actually have received some phone calls from a lot of real estate agents here locally, and they're asking me, hey, what are you doing on Facebook? And I'm like, well, I'm not doing it, but I can tell you, I don't know if the company can help you or not, but the software that they use and the algorithm that you guys have is indefinitely working. There's no question. And I thought it was odd. I'm like, the real estate agents are calling like, hey, typically that's a repaint and somebody has a rental or they're getting ready to sell a house. And they're like, hey, what are you doing online? Because we're seeing your ads so often and they're tastefully done. And this, and so I explained to him that, I think Tridas is only helping painting contractors right now, but certainly if you wanted to consult with Brian, I'm sure he'd be happy to talk with you about it.
Sweet. Yeah. So we're seeing some impact in the community, which is like the biggest thing for us is we want you to be known, not just get some leads, make some sales, but actually have you and Cathcart Company known as a local company so that it makes it easier for people to reach out to you as well, which is what these, videos of your face doing the selfie videos are kind of really about. That's really the point. Yeah. I mean, what would you say to anybody that I guess is like potentially on the fence or thinking about working with Tridas, maybe someone that was in your position beforehand that is a little bit unsure? What would you say to anybody?
I would say it would be irresponsible for you to not give it a try.
That's huge. That's impactful. It almost gave me goosebumps a little bit. It's irresponsible for you not to at least try to grow the
I
company and see
know
what can happen.
firsthand because I was on the fence. I'm a skeptic, and I'm one of those guys like, yeah, it all sounds good, but how's this going to translate? How are you going to show me? And I was on the fence, and I thought about not moving forward. It was,
Mhm.
I wouldn't say it was 50-50 because I know that you built the value and you explained it in a way that was like, fine, if it doesn't work, then I'm out of a couple $1,000 and, we tried. And yeah, I would say if to anybody that was sitting in my seat 3.5 months ago, you should have called sooner and just be ready.
Sweet. Was there anything you tried previously before jumping on with Tridas? Had you tried any solutions or trying to figure out the issue of lead flow before you found us?
I did. So I worked really hard on branding because I know how important that is.
Hmm.
So I made sure that our logo was the same identically everywhere, same colors, same brightness, things like that. But the marketing, it was like I would do the boost posts on Facebook and like, oh yeah, you're in front of 300 people and you paid $50 and there's still no proof there. I feel like it's more of gimmicky than anything else. There were zero results. Maybe a half a percentile of people that did that would reach out and say, "Hey, we have a project. Maybe we're interested." And again, so the type of leads that you get here, and I think this is important for anybody that's coming from similar walks as myself, is these leads have to be treated differently than your word of mouth leads, than your neighbors and your aunts and uncles and cousins. You have to kind of go back to school and become a salesman again instead of just somebody that talks. You have to know the approaches and the always be closings and all the rebuttals. You have to be prepared for that because these people don't know you. You're building value with them, but you have to treat these leads differently than, hey, you painted my neighbor's house. Can you come and take a look? Those are like a lot more friendly, carefree, happy go lucky. Hey, yeah, we're going to come paint for you. We're a phenomenal painting company. You can trust us versus these people. And typically what I'm doing is for all of these leads, I have a pre-printed packet that includes a welcome letter. Hey, thanks for giving us the invitation to bid your project. Here I am. This is us. This is what we do. We'll be happy to work with you. And here's what to expect. I also include our active liability insurance certificate and Bureau of Workers' Compensation coverage in that certificate, just so that they know that, hey, we're a company, we have a brick and mortar, we have overhead, we're legit, we're protected, but we're also not cheap. And so I'm trying to build that value as soon as I shake their hand when they allow me to come into their home. It's just, hey,
Mm.
I brought this for you. And it's not like, hey, here's my business card. That was an old sales approach. You thought you had a business card, you were going to be a millionaire. That's just not the case.
Got it. So what if I'm understanding correctly? It's almost like the word of mouth, the uncles and the neighbors, they're kind of more like order taking. It's like they're already somewhat ready to go. They just want to chat to you. Whereas these leads, when you're doing marketed leads, you need to take a bit more of a sales process. You need to go back to like, hey, we need to build value to actually close these people. And I guess like the benefit of that is these marketed leads are scalable. You can get more of those. You can't necessarily go out and get more word of mouth and referrals. You wait for them to come, but you can go out and get these marketed leads and these kind of sellable leads. You're building value at the start with the little packet showing that, hey, we're real people, we're a real business, you can trust us. Is there anything else differently you kind of changed in your sales process, or you realized you needed to do more of when you started doing more marketing?
Yeah, I think it's just all goes hand in hand where I wasn't really selling. It didn't feel like I was a salesman. I kind of got lackadaisical with it. And, humbly so. It wasn't like, oh, I know that they're going to hire us. It was just, I'm in a position where we're already busy enough. I don't need your business, but I do want it. And
Mm.
here's why, you know, here's why you should choose us versus the competition.
Yeah, I don't think you're the only person to kind of run into that as well. I think it's very easy to get comfortable when the same thing kind of happens every time. You start to get comfortable and you don't realize that you need to push a bit differently or a bit further. Well, I'm glad to see you guys have had some pretty tremendous growth so far, and I'm looking forward to seeing how we can get you guys to that millionaire mark and keep things moving. Bringing on a salesperson is a pretty huge role. It's like arguably some people say it's like one of the biggest roles for your company is removing yourself from sales is a pretty big deal. So the fact that you're already looking to do that is huge. So I'm looking forward to seeing how you get on with that, and then seeing how we can get you to the 1 million mark. Is there any like final thoughts or anything else you wanted to add at all, Ryan, before we kind of wrap up here? Anything you wish I'd asked you?
I just think that anybody that's considering this program should give it a try, even if it's just a trial run, and let Ryan and his team show you why you should continue. You know, the results are there.
Appreciate jumping on, Ryan. If you need anything else.
I hit all the stuff here too. I really do. The only thing that I didn't hit on in particular is like having access to you and your team. That's a part of mine. Like when we close deals, somebody from Tridas is reaching out. Hey, great job. And it sounds kind of cliche, but that pat on the back wasn't coming before. And so it's like, that's a motivator too. And it all just kind of works together and helping with growth and sales and yeah, I mean, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, man. I mean, being a business owner can get pretty lonely when you're in the trenches by yourself. So I think having a good team to support you and be around you and keep pushing when things get a little bit comfortable. We always want to be in a place of uncomfort. If we're uncomfortable, it means we're growing. If we're comfortable, we're in a dangerous position, because that's where, what do they say? Dreams go to die in the comfortable position, right?
Yes.
So yeah, I'm excited to see what you guys make happen. Continue this growth. Yeah, I appreciate you jumping on and sharing your kind words. And if you need anything, you know where to reach us in Slack. And yeah, man, have a good end to your week. Appreciate you, Ryan.
Thanks. We'll talk soon.
Bye.
Good. Chat to you later,
See you
guys.
guys.
Bye.